Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. First up for D&D today, I have the greatest uncle in the universe mug that I got, again, for pet sitting a rabbit, therefore making me her uncle and the greatest one in the universe. Inside of it, similar to yesterday, I threw away the box instead of bringing it in here because I am wildly intelligent and not at all sleep deprived. But it was the last one that I had in it. It is the Wildberry Zinger from Celestial Seasonings. You guys have seen it on the show before. It's right about here right now. Very good, nice, rich, fruity kind of tea. So if that's what you're into, definitely check it out. But without further ado, let's get into what we're talking about today. I am very, very excited about this one. I was so thrilled when I checked D&D Beyond this morning, and there was a new UA for One D&D in it. We are going to be talking about that. Specifically, we are going to be talking about the cleric class that is in it. We will be talking about the species and the adjusted rules a little bit later on, mostly when for the adjusted rules when I have time to compare them to the other sets of adjusted rules and see what's new, what's changing. And with the species, they will probably get their own thing as well. But I could not talk about the clerics here. I'm so excited. I wish that we had gotten the full priests, quote-unquote, subset of classes, but we didn't. We got just the cleric today, which I think is interesting. I don't know why they broke it out like that, but maybe it is because they are thinking that people, they had to extend the feedback period for the last one, so maybe it's that they are trying to, encourage people to actually give feedback for their specific classes, and they think if there's too much content, then they are not going to be wanting to give feedback. I highly recommend giving feedback, by the way, if you did not do that. Feedback period for the other two have closed, but stay tuned for the upcoming one. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at the cleric class. We're going to be comparing it side by side with the current cleric class with some, running commentary from me, observations that I have, things that I have noted. I've done a pretty decent comparison of them, but we are still in the early stages of really processing this. So bear with me as I might be making some discoveries as I'm talking here. So let's go ahead and let's actually take a look at this bad boy, shall we? So first and foremost, the cleric class is still obviously in the priest class group, and they have a wisdom modifier as their core ability. That is listed out in the 1D&D materials, which I think is very interesting, but it is very helpful because it is essentially foregoing that little box that said quick build, and it's saying, hey, this is the thing that you're going to need in order to make this class as optimized as possible. But looking at the table that they gave us here, it looks like every other table, it is still going to be the same sort of spell level progression as it goes. However, as with how we notice with other classes other times, the preparedness of these spells is also linked directly to the spell levels. We will get into that when we talk about spell casting, but it is worth noting because the header for the spell chart on the table is prepared spells per level. So let's go ahead, let's dive in, shall we? First things first here, still obviously wisdom as a core ability score. They have a D8 hit die still. Their saving throws are the same. You pick up some skills, weapons, simple weapons, tools done, armor, light, medium, and shields, mostly all the same as before. Nothing major that has changed from that. Now, they have a little section on multi-classing, always important, but getting into what we are actually looking at with the class here, first thing that is a major difference. You do not get your subclass at level 1, you get it at level 3. Again, it looks like they are standardizing across all of the classes. For better or worse, honestly, I think it is not a bad thing to do, but it does make it so that if you are going to take a little dip because you want to get a subclass from something, you're going to need to be getting all the way up to level 3 across the board. But this is a good example of one where that is going to be relevant, because you could just take a single level in cleric and immediately be in your lane, but this does not suit that. So you don't get your subclass at level 1. Instead, at level 1, you get your channel divinity and you get your spell casting. As mentioned with the spell casting, you are a prepared caster. You always have the spells Cure Wounds, Sacred Flame, Shield of Faith, Spare the Dying, and Thaumaturgy prepared. That's wrong. I read that sentence. That is not correct. That is the recommended ones that they have if you are doing a quick build kind of thing. They have it laid out in sort of a weird way in here. But you get to prepare the number of spells equal to your spell slot preparedness section, as mentioned above. That table that is up there, you get 3 cantrips and 2 first level spells. Any spell that you prepare from this is going to be from your divine spell list, quote unquote, whatever that is. And it talks about how you can switch them out at a long rest there. So, you still get to use a holy symbol as your focus, which is nice, because you don't really want to have to deal with spell components if you can help it. And it just goes on to discuss, once again, that wisdom is your abilities or primary score, as well as how you prepare spells in this different rule set, which again appears to be the same way as they had it last time they released a UA. Channel Divinity, however, is a little bit different because of the way that they are sort of reworking this. It is obviously your first level feature. It is the thing that is going to define you as a cleric as a first level, at the first level, as opposed to what presumably will be a paladin or who is the other priest in this? Why am I blanking on that? Paladin or druid, because the Channel Divinity is going to be the thing that really separates you from that. So what you get with your Channel Divinity this time, 2 options still. However, you can use them a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest, which is obviously very different. At this date in 5th edition history, you can do it twice. That's just sort of the way it's always been. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is just interesting that they are going to be going in that direction. It makes me think that their Channel Divinity options are going to be more like middling almost. But honestly, what they have laid out here is not that uninteresting. So your 2 options are Divine Spark and Turn Undead. Divine Spark as a magic action, which we will talk about much later on. I was super confused for a little while. And by much later on, I mean in a future episode. I was really confused as why they were designating it that way, but it's part of their rules thing. You can point your holy symbol at another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus. Add them together and either force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw or give them hit points equal to that amount. With the Constitution saving throw, if they fail, they take that much in radiant damage. If they succeed, they take half of that in radiant damage. Turning undead is a magic action. Again, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer censoring undead creatures. Every undead within 30 feet of you has to make a wisdom save. Failed save. It is dazed, quote unquote, for 1 minute in place of being frightened of you. Or until it takes any damage this way, or you are incapacitated or you die. While it is dazed in this way, it can only move away from you, and it can take the dash action on its turn only if it continues to move further away from you. So it's basically the exact same thing. They're just using slightly different terminology, and it removes, I don't know dazed well enough off the top of my head to know if it does, in fact, remove that same sort of advantage-disadvantage thing that you got from, Turn Undead originally. I hope it doesn't, because while, yes, as soon as you deal damage to it, that kind of goes away, it is still nice to have that little bit in there just in case. So, at level 2, where you would normally get Channel Divinity during 5th edition, you instead get your Holy Order. This is sort of like a beginning divergent path for subclassing almost. There are 3 different types here. You get to pick another one later on. We'll get to that eventually here. But at 2nd level, you pick up your Holy Order. You dedicate yourself to one of the following sacred roles. Choose one of the following options. Protector. Trained for battle, you gain martial weapon and heavy armor proficiencies. So it is no longer locked to things like the war domain or the forge domain. You can pick that up if that is the type of cleric you want to play, regardless of the subclass you're playing, which is kind of cool. Scholar. Studying and teaching lore about the multiverse and the gods. You gain proficiency in 2 skills: Arcana, History, Nature, Persuasion, or Religion. Whenever you make an ability check using either skill, you get a bonus equal to your Wisdom modifier, which early on is just better Then expertise. Up until, I guess depending on what your wisdom modifier is, obviously, but presuming you have a +3 wisdom modifier, that is better than expertise for your beginning levels, and it will be as good as expertise well past your first ability score improvement if you decide to take that, where you could bump it to a +4. And if you just keep running with it, it will be the equivalent of expertise for a while in there, which is very interesting to me. Or you can be the thaumaturge. Delving deeper into your divine and magical abilities, you can prepare an extra cantrip and from the divine spell list. You then go ahead and can read about spells and stuff like that. It directs you to do that. In addition, you gain an expended use of your channel divinity when you finish a short rest. So this is one that is more tapping into that divine power. So it's not one that has been laid out before necessarily, quite so much as the Scholar, which is a little bit more Arcana domain, and the Protector, which is very much like War, Forge, etc. Domains. So they are interesting to be sure. And they do sort of help give you that flavor that you want, but you don't have to be locked to a subclass for it, which I do appreciate. I do appreciate that a lot. It is a little bit of the customizability that every once in a while you're like, man, I want to be this, I don't know, death domain cleric, but I would like to be able to not die if somebody sneezes on me. But, you know, that just is what it is. At 3rd level, you gain your cleric subclass. This one gives you the life domain, yes, life domain. We'll talk about it when we get to the end of the actual class. At 4th level, you get a feat. Reminder that in 1D&D so far, they have just added an ability score improvement feat, and you just are given a feat so that you can just use it, because apparently so many people are using feats that they just assume that's what we're going to put in the game. It's easier that way. It gives people a little bit more stuff to do, which is fair. 5th level, you get Smite Undead. This is in lieu of your Destroy Undead feature. No longer are you destroying undead up to a certain challenge rating at any point in here. Instead, when you use your Turn Undead feature, you roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus, and then you add those rolls together. Each undead that fails that saving throw immediately takes that much radiant damage, which, while yes, that does not pace to get to higher levels the same way that it would have for the Destroy Undead, it does mean that if they are failing your saving throw, they are taking damage, and then they are also being turned if they are not immediately destroyed. So it is giving you a little bit extra for when you're at those later levels and you're going to be fighting more of those higher level zombies. You're still going to be able to just like blast through skeletons and blast through zombies, because quite frankly they don't have the constitution to actually survive in that kind of thing. So it is not a bad thing to have just as like a little rolling damage if that is something you get to use, especially because you can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus instead of twice. So I like this shift, even though I recognize that it does sort of detract from the just like absolute vaporization that a lot of the clerics could do. So we'll see how it actually works out. 6th level, you gain another subclass feature. Again, it looks like it is 3, 6, 10, and 14 for the subclass features that they're trying to lock into. 7th level, you gain Blessed Strikes. When you deal damage to a creature with a weapon attack or a cantrip, you can roll an extra d8 radiant damage against that creature. When you deal it, you can only do it once per turn. So the first time you deal it on the turn, it is done then until your next turn. So this is kind of in place of the what were they? What were they called? Okay, save me here. Divine Strike or Potent Spellcasting. This is in lieu of that feature. Sorry, my brain is just not on for some reason right now. I don't like this change. I wish that they essentially gave you both of them here, because really you're going to be using one or the other. You're not going to be always necessarily running around, sword in one hand, spellcasting in the other, just like whipping off spells. And if they just make it once per turn, that's fine. But it does make it so that you're kind of reducing it down. But it is kind of nice to just get that extra d8 of damage. 8th level, you get another feat. 9th level, you get a second Holy Order. So of those 3 I listed before, you get a second one. 10th level, you get a subclass feature. 11th level, you get Divine Intervention. So they move it back a level here, but it works exactly the same way, except for the recharge. Still, if it fails, you are regaining it on a long rest, but if it succeeds, you roll 2d6, and it is that number of days before you can do it again, which means it could be as low as 2 up to 12. You can do that math. I didn't need to tell you that, but the point more is that it could be low, which is interesting. 12th level, you gain a feat. 14th level, you get your final subclass feature. 16th level, you get a feat. And 18th level, you get greater Divine Intervention. So this is where it automatically succeeds when you use Divine Intervention, and then your recharge for it is actually 2d4 following that. 19th level, you gain a feat, and 20th level, you gain an epic boon. They talked about how they're going to be moving into that, where they take that top feature, put it at level 18, get an ASI or feat at 19, and then 20, you get an epic boon. Then they list out the full cleric subclass here, and then they give us the life domain cleric. And here is what is really genuinely kind of crazy to me. The life domain cleric is almost word for word the same. I'm serious. It is almost a copy paste of what they had before. Obviously, things are shifted around a little bit. The spell lists, or spell list, is slightly different. You get, if you look at the current life domain cleric spell list, and then you look at the new one, you will notice that one of them from each level is the same, and they replaced the other one. So that is interesting to me. They also obviously removed that first level one where you won't have this at first level. But things like Disciple of Life, I'm just going to read them off. Disciple of Life, Preserve Life, Blessed Healer, and Supreme Healing, they are all the exact same. Like the exact same. Entirely the same. I was actually very surprised at first as I was reading through this, because I wasn't sure what the deal was with it. I wasn't sure why it was that way. They again removed the Divine Strike like chunk of it out of there, so you are not getting that weapon bonus in there. But Disciple of Life, the creature regains hit points equal to 2 plus the spell's level. Preserve Life, you present your holy symbol, hit points equal to 5 times your cleric level to creatures within 30 feet of you, up to half of their maximum hit points. Blessed Healer, you gain 2 plus the spell's level hit points when you cast a healing spell, or a spell that restores hit points. And Supreme Healing, you can just max out a healing roll. That's it. It gives us the exact same subclass, which means that this one was a well-balanced one from the get-go. They change around a little bit of the wording of things, but it is identical. And so that was a little bit disappointing to realize, but it does mean that they are confident in that, and they believe that people like that, which I would agree with. I think that the Life Domain Cleric is an extremely well-designed subclass. I honestly think that it is one of their best, like, introductory, quote-unquote, subclasses of any of the classes in the game, because it is so well balanced and it is very forgiving. All of your stuff is got to do with like healing and bolstering, as opposed to like something that could fall flat because you're trying to deal damage with it. And so it is definitely a beginner friendly, and it is definitely a healer focused kind of thing. But I wish that they had given us like just a little something different, you know, just like a little bit. Like even if it was just like, oh, they did the light domain instead, and we just saw what that was. So anyway, that brings us through the new cleric here. I know I like swam around in it a little bit. I'm sorry. Again, I am sort of working through this at the same time as I'm talking to you guys about it, because I am very, very interested to see where we actually end up with this. But enough about that. Let's get into the shows that we have for today and this weekend. First off, today we have Mayhem D&D, Off the Rails, Oxventure, Just Roll With It, Strings of Fate, Rolling with Difficulty, World of Low, Crown DM, and Coming Together Naturally. I'm going to be on Coming Together Naturally's next episode, I believe, and so you guys should definitely check that out, because it was a lot of fun to be on, and they are telling a really interesting story. Tomorrow, Saturday, we have Dice Funk and Strange Hungers, and Sunday we have Super Idols, Roll For Your Life, Grinning Griffin, Dungeon Drunks, Library of Nightmares, Chaos Brigade, Rise of the Forsaken, Chromatic Dice, The Strawcast, High Rollers, and Tabletop Notch. Go check them out, guys. Let them know that I sent you, because again, someday somebody is going to say something to me about it, and I'm going to think that it is funny, but until then, I'm going to keep asking you guys to do so. My tongue feels heavy for some reason right now. I really sort of stumbled through that thing that I stumble through every day anyway. But that is everything I have to talk to you guys about today. So thank you so very much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much in particular to my subscribers. If you're interested in subscribing, check out the button below the video or wherever you get your podcasts. I am on, I believe, all of those platforms. The support means a ton, and I really, really do appreciate it. So with all that said, everybody, don't forget, drink tea, play D&D, and keep on rolling.